As we do each and every time this week, we set aside this time for the mayor of Kansas City, Quinton Lucas, joining us on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio, and streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Well, Mr. Mayor, all the conversation, of course, this week, it seems like in this town, is around Frank White, the Jackson County executive, and what his future holds. I'm sure this is one of those stories that you're kind of sick of hearing about, but a lot of people are wondering what is next and what the city's stance is on the future of the Jackson County executive. You're a resident, but you're also the mayor of the largest city in the county. So where should this go from here after two legislators introduced the idea of the attorney general potentially getting involved in Frank White's removal?
Well, I'll say a few things. First of all, it doesn't ever seem like there's a story that we don't get to talk about now that isn't kind of a repeat one, whether it be stadiums, the county property tax issue, or beyond. Let me lay out just a few different things. First of all, I do respect any order that comes both from a court here in Missouri or from the tax commission. I think they have been rather clear and unambiguous about the fact that there are certain instructions to Jackson County about property tax treatment for the prior tax year. I stand with the legislative majority in connection with making sure that gets addressed. In terms of how it is meted out, whether you bring in the attorney general, certainly I never support that. I don't think he actually ever really acts in good faith, but I do think that it's worthwhile for the county executive to work with the county legislature and others to say, all right, how can we get to some good compromise? I think that's a good step that we saw in the past week, that them saying in the next year they will cap to 15% the increases, like you see in almost every other county in our state, including Clay and Platte here closer to home, in which Kansas City sit. I think it is a good thing that they're at least talking about ways they can pass a budget. But, as a fan more of government than a Jackson County resident or a Kansas Cityan, you got to get these things to work. You have got to pass a budget at the county level. You can't have $500-600 million being spent, I think, without it. You have got to get some level of agreement of everybody sitting in a room and saying this is how we can get things done. And that will mean compromise in both ways. I understand litigation as well as almost anybody in one of these positions. It takes forever. Even if you brought in the attorney general tomorrow to wage a bunch of threats and lawfare, it would probably take 1.5 years to 2 years to get some resolution. By then, we're in a whole different election cycle, and maybe some of the personnel's even changed. So I hope there's compromise that gets us out of it. When you have elephants fighting, right, then there's what they say, right? We're all just the grass that we all lose. I mean, this is a real concern, and I hope people in cooler heads come to some resolution.
Well, you mentioned, and for people who are listening closely, you probably got the feel from the mayor on his thoughts on the attorney general for the state of Missouri, Andrew Bailey. So he said this week that you have denied or ignored maybe sunshine requests that he say need to be turned around in just a couple of days. He's investigating the office, as he calls it, ties back to defunding the police attempts of 2021. So he seemed to make it very clear that he believes you've got to basically give him what he's looking for. But for those that didn't see your very tongue-in-cheek response last week to this, I guess you're not buying it. So what's next between you and the attorney general?
Well, you know what? First of all, I disagree with some of your premise. The police have never been defunded in Kansas City during my administration. Not only have they been funded their best ever, which you may expect because it has been several years, but frankly, our increases, 10% budget increases, 8% budget increases, far outpace almost every other department in Kansas City. In terms of the back and forth with Andrew Bailey, what I have to say is this. Right, he's playing games. Right, these aren't realistic questions, as you know, Pete. Maybe the public doesn't. We have been in litigation both on this issue and others for years. He has previously requested these bills, these statements before. The Attorney General's office has that information. They've deposed me in connection with that information. What they're really doing is kicking up a bunch of mud just to kind of be in a back and forth political fight. I understand it. I guess he's a politician like our other two attorneys general. I guess our recent attorneys general. He wants to be a U.S. senator someday and thinks this is the way. But to me, ultimately, this is the sort of thing that says, look, it's just wasting time. He knows how he can get the information. He knows that what he requested likely will require us to pull thousands of documents. I'm hearing more than 7,000 potentially. It takes a lot of time to review. Andrew Bailey knows that, but it was good for a one-day political hit, and I look forward to him tweeting to me about something else that is unnecessary sometime soon.
All right. Well, we'll have to keep an eye on that then. Mayor Lucas is here on KCMO Talk Radio. There was an arrest this week of the man he was charged this week, the guy with the ATV who ran over the Kansas City police officer. We're glad this came. His name is Kendall Coleman, charged with first-degree assault, armed criminal action, aggravated fleeing, a stop, according to Jackson County Prosecutor Melissa Johnson. This came down yesterday. So is this a sign ahead of what could be an active summer with all this dirt biking stuff that hopefully there's to use the cliche, new sheriff in town? Is there a larger message here with this arrest that you hope gets out loud and clear?
Yeah, the message needs to be to anybody who is offended in this category, you will be caught, right? You will be arrested. And I appreciate the prosecutor, Melissa Johnson, who I'm very proud of, bringing very real and serious charges. This isn't fun. This isn't stunting. This isn't just some sort of Instagram reel that you get out of it. This is a real harm to people in Kansas City, and we are not tolerating it. You saw a robust investigation from KCPD. This suspect was apprehended several states away. We are proud of the work that was done, and frankly, we will continue to do this work on all of these. These things always occur on video. They're looking to have a show. Well, I tell you what, that show is going to be evidence in trials against people for felonious charges, and I think this is the sort of thing that you're going to see us cracking down on more and more, not just in Kansas City. You saw the St. Louis police. I posted it on social media. They arrested several the other day. Big city departments are saying we've had enough. These street takeovers are not a thing that's going to be tolerated.
Now, speaking of big jobs right now in the city manager position, of course, is open, and there are 3 finalists for this position. Do you have one of these 3 that you prefer, that you are lobbying on behalf of?
I would never have a preferred candidate before interviews, of course, right? I'm going to make sure that we evaluate everybody. I know all of them well. I've worked with all of them. All of them have had relationships with the city that I think extended beyond 20 years, and each of them have some outstanding projects about which they can boast. So, I think this is a very good process. These interviews will be public, so all of you can listen, you can watch. Hopefully they come on your show after they're selected, but more than anything, I hope that people in Kansas City understand. We have an outstanding government. We'll continue to deliver exceptional basic services. Kansas City, I think, has been through a basic services, road resurfacing revolution over recent years. We're paying everybody well, including our cops. We have a wonderfully run city government. There are personnel changes. That happens all the time. But I'm proud to work with the thousands of people in Kansas City, and I think that you'll be proud of our next manager as well.
All right. And then on that note, you look at where this town is headed tonight. It is the NFL draft. And where would you like to see the Chiefs go with that 31st pick in the NFL draft, Mr. Mayor?
The 31st pick, man. Look, we need line help, right? And frankly, I think we could always use a little bit of receiving corps help. O-line, that's the sort of thing that I'm hoping that Brett Beach, my man, is focused on. I have not looked at draft charts. I am no Mel Kiper Jr. I will just sit back happily and then watch Twitter go alight based on all of the different selections that we either make or do not over time.
Well, there you go. Oh, and I got to ask you, too, how about the old Spring campus landing the company from Milwaukee? So Fiserv is certainly a different landing spot than what some on the radio dial were predicting just 3 weeks ago, huh?
My wife tells me I shouldn't get in back and forth fights, but the number of times I have been tempted to just, maybe call in a different radio show, although it probably helped their ratings, or just kind of say, wow, it was almost a stone cold lock. You remember the assertiveness with which it was declared that this is basically a done deal. That's what all the sources are saying. Anything but. I got to give a shout out to my good friend, Governor Laura Kelly of Kansas, who's going down quickly. He's one of Kansas's best governors. And I think it's a great deal for the people of our region, but it is hilarious how that Sprint campus, I'm just glad we finally get that out of our conversation. Now we get to debate everything else with the future of Royals baseball.
Well, there's something we can definitely agree on. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We always appreciate your time.
Hey, have a great day. Have a great weekend, everybody.